She loved the Ohio State University as much as anything.
New tonight, growing concern for safety after an Ohio State University student is kidnapped and killed within minutes after leaving her job.
Well, it's a parent's worst nightmare.
Watching the video of her leaving, it almost gives you chills. This is the last time that anyone who knows her, cares about her, is going to see her alive.
He makes her drive him to a Chase Bank and go through an ATM machine and try to withdraw cash out of the ATM.
We don't often see crimes on video, so you're seeing it happen.
He told her to get out of the car, take off her clothes, and then shoots her in the temple. It's an execution, there's no doubt about that. They found a couple cigarettes in the car, and BCI basically shut down their lab for us, and they did DNA on the cigarettes.
Well, what's he go by? What name does he go by? TJ. TJ?
Never inside a f***ing head, bro. This is the first time I've ever seen somebody get the whole f***ing life, dude.
They found the gun in a storm sewer.
We don't often get murder weapons, so to get a murder weapon is a pretty big deal.
I was able to conclude the 2 fired bullets that were submitted were fired from this revolver.
And I'm standing before you now, asking each of you to put pen to paper and return a verdict of death.
Your wife is in a bar. You said she's unresponsive.
This is what he's going to tell you.
How to get out of that situation.
And I grabbed the gun.
Trying to find the first place to put a body.
No, sir.
The only thing they could do was kill him.
You want to say anything? We, the jury, and to find the defendant.
Hello, 911.
Yeah, I think there's a body out here at Scioto Grove Metro Park. I don't know if this is a fake or what. I'm afraid to get close to it. This is really freaking. Please hurry, send somebody.
Okay. Is there any clothing? Can you see from where you're standing?
No, it's nude. It's nude. It's bloody. It's got the arm over its face. I'm afraid to get near it. I can't tell if it's fake or what, man. It's about daylight.
Okay. Can you tell if it's male or female or anything like that?
It's a female. I don't know if that's real, man.
Okay, don't get close to it. I don't
no,
want you to.
I'm scared to death of it.
Just stay out of it because it'll be a crime scene if it's.
Right. God almighty, I hope that's a dummy.
The Detective Bureau responded, and we were able to determine that it was a female in her 20s that did not have any clothes on and was laying in the field and with 2 apparent gunshot wounds to her head. It was very strange. That's not something that we typically run across in Grove City, Ohio. It was a shock for everyone involved that day. Probably about an hour or so into the investigation, we received notification that Columbus police were in the process of taking a missing person report.
Here's the latest. A body found in Scioto Grove Metro Parks has been identified as missing Ohio State University student Reagan Tokes.
Well, it's a parent's worst nightmare. We knew something was definitely very, very wrong, and we couldn't reach her. And that evening is when we got the most horrific phone call that a parent could ever receive.
She loved the Ohio State University as much as anything. Reagan wouldn't even apply to other colleges.
She was a psychology major. She was getting ready to graduate, and so her plan after graduating was to continue on, and that was the field that she was going into.
She had a great time her 4 years here until that fateful night.
Tonight, growing concern for safety after an Ohio State University student is kidnapped and killed within minutes after leaving her job.
It scares me to go out alone now. Are they going to take me? Like how they took her? You don't know.
It definitely sent shockwaves throughout the community because I think a lot of people could imagine that being their daughter, their sister, their granddaughter, their friend.
Reagan Tokes was last seen leaving work at a restaurant in downtown Columbus, Bodega.
Watching the video of her leaving, it almost gives you chills. This is the last time that anyone who knows her, cares about her, is going to see her alive.
No one's suspicious. No one got up and immediately followed her out. You didn't see anybody in the windows on the street start to follow her or anything at that time.
You're walking someplace, you're just trying to get there safely, and I think he took her totally by surprise.
So once he abducts Reagan, he makes her drive the vehicle while he has a gun in the passenger seat. He makes her drive him to a Chase Bank and go through an ATM machine and try to withdraw cash out of the ATM. She is unsuccessful and does not get any cash out. He then forces her to drive to another ATM machine at Huntington Bank to try to withdraw, which she is unable to as well.
You could make out a figure that appeared to be her, and there was clearly a passenger in the car, but that's about all you could see was a shape. Couldn't identify any features or anything like that. We don't often see crimes on video, so you're seeing it happen.
The car stops in this alley, this dark alley, and they're there for about 12 minutes. That's when he's actually raping her.
After they leave the alley, he makes her drive him back to the same Chase ATM. She's able to successfully get, I believe, $60 out of the ATM. After they leave the ATM and they go get gas at a gas station. The video at the gas station is not that great. It's very pixelated. It was raining and snowy that night, and they parked at the furthest pump away.
I think that there's a time where I think she could have taken off for sure, but I don't know where he is. I don't know if he's got the gun pointed at her. I'm sure he's told her, if you do as I tell you, I'm going to let you go. Don't worry, I'm never going to hurt you. And as a victim, you probably want to believe that.
Once they get gas, they leave the gas station and they head down to the Metro Park area.
It's cold February night, it's dark.
What we believe happened is that he told her to get out of the car, take off her clothes, and keep walking.
I think she thought she was still going to live. He's releasing her. Run, go.
But he got out of the car, follows her, and shoots her in the back of the head. I think he walks up to her, puts a gun to her temple, and makes sure she's dead.
He marched her to her death.
It's an execution, there's no doubt about that.
The first break in the case came thanks to a license plate reader connected to a police database that spotted Reagan's car.
They could see that there was scorch marks on the front seat, like somebody tried to burn it.
They found a couple cigarettes in the car. And we had Detective Forney call her family and friends.
We said, hey, does Reagan smoke? And they said, no, she doesn't even allow anybody to smoke inside her car. So we immediately shipped that cigarette butt off to Ohio BCI to have it tested for any DNA.
We asked them to do a rush on the cigarettes, and BCI basically shut down their lab for us. And they did DNA on the cigarettes.
And then there's a gas can in the trunk. So they start investigating, where did this gas can come from?
And we ended up at the Speedway gas station where that exact gas can was sold.
And there he was, about a half hour after police believe Reagan had been killed.
There's a video of him engaging in that transaction at the gas station, having the plan later to set the car on fire, destroying that as evidence. And that was a very key thing in the case.
Even before we had the DNA, we had the video at the Speedway.
And then, a short time later, the crime lab called with the DNA results.
I mean, it was within hours, which is truly tremendous.
Good morning, everyone. Late last night, I received a call from the lead BCI forensic scientist with a match on items in the car with a registered sex offender. His name is Brian Lee Golsby.
It was the same person seen on the gas station video. but he would offer a much different version of what happened that night.
Family and friends are gathered at Maumee United Methodist Church to honor the life of the Ohio State senior who died a week ago.
This, of course, is going to be a very tough day for everyone who knew her.
We certainly never, ever would have dreamed in our worst nightmares that this would happen to our family. When you just try to do the right thing and live a simple, humble, private life, you just don't expect things like this.
It was surreal. It made absolutely no sense that somebody would hurt her because everybody loved her, and we frankly were in a state of shock.
Brian Golsby was taken into custody without incident by Grove City Police.
Hold on here real quick.
Golsby was on probation for another attempted rape and robbery. He had a long criminal record going all the way back to when he was a juvenile. He was a sex offender.
We found out that my office had handled a case of his, 6 years before.
A remarkably similar case in which Golsby had abducted a woman, forced her to take out money from an ATM machine, and then raped her, but let her go. Prosecutors offered him a plea bargain, and he served 6 years in prison.
We pulled the file, called the prosecutor who had done the case, tried to have him explain why on a rape case he only got 6 years. He explained to us that the victim didn't want to go through testimony, and that's why they cut the deal.
He was in the system. They had a file on him. He had been released the previous November. He was a previously convicted violent offender that was wearing an ankle monitor, who basically was roaming about Columbus, unchecked, unmonitored. He should have never crossed paths with my daughter.
He would stay out past curfew. He was going to places where he probably should not have been going.
It's unacceptable. One would think that there's an immediate alert that goes off and an officer is sent to investigate and find out what the situation is.
But what we found was that no one was really closely tracking his whereabouts. There weren't guardrails put into place to ensure where he was going or that he wouldn't reoffend, because his previous conviction was for a violent crime.
The night that he killed Reagan, he did get on the CODA bus system, him getting on the bus and then getting off in the area where the GPS then picks him up and starts to follow him as he just aimlessly walks around.
We could track his movements the whole night, which was pretty chilling, actually. We had the surveillance video from the ATMs, from the gas station.
And then to the park where Reagan was killed. And finally to Golsby's girlfriend's house, where police discovered the black Kate Spade purse that belonged to Reagan.
The ankle monitor gave us really great evidence.
Golsby was even wearing the ankle monitor when he was arrested.
This is cool. Okay. We know what happened. We want to know why it happened. Tell me what happened. I want you to tell me what happened. I ain't got no cigarettes or nothing. Well, that's what the cooperation is yet, man. I honestly, he said I give him some. If you give me some, I haven't got nothing. I gave him a little bit so far. Cigarettes, and I'll start talking. Okay.
It was difficult. He did not want to provide very much information, and he would only confirm information once you called him out on it.
Tell me about the girl. Tell me about why you got in the car. She invite you in the car? Read this. No. Tell me what's going on. I'll tell you everything about that. Okay. You got into the car from yeah. You went down to Chase Bank. I drove through some withdrawals from the bank. Right, we're going to go get cameras down there as well. He didn't get out very much. I mean, $60 bucks. Yeah. 60 bucks.
What was her reaction when he got in the car with her? Was she scared, nervous, upset? Did she like you? Did she think you were nice? Did you treat her right? Okay, and you told her you wanted what?
He did eventually admit that he had been with Reagan that night. He tried to make statements that protected himself. He wasn't that culpable.
You ever take your clothes off?
No.
Right.
No.
She takes them off then herself?
I didn't have her do it. I didn't have her take her clothes off. I did not have her take her clothes off.
Was somebody with you?
No. Okay. I didn't have her take her clothes off.
Just listen, all right? You didn't mean to do this. Things got out of control. You panicked. I get it. I understand. You're not a bad dude, man. First, all of a sudden you're doing something and it's going on and then these things just get out of control.
What is out of control?
Out of control means you had to take the clothes off. All right?
No.
Ryan, you did.
No.
No. Listen, I just told you. You get it. We understand.
No.
Yes.
You don't. I didn't have her take her clothes off. I've been honest with you so far, and you still haven't shown me the pictures over there.
It's just a fur. It's just a fur.
You don't want to see that, man. What is that, then? What is this accident y'all keep talking about? Y'all keep talking about an accident.
You shot her.
I ain't shoot nobody, man. Man, listen, man, I didn't shoot nobody, man. I ain't do nothing. I ain't shoot nobody, man.
Why are you not telling her that part of the story?
Because I didn't shoot anybody.
You did. When's the last time you shot again?
I've never shot again.
Never. So you let her out, right? And she is found naked and dead there the next day.
Okay.
All right? And you leave. It's freezing cold. Listen, Brian.
I don't shoot nobody.
All right, just listen. It's freezing cold out. So let's just listen. If we go along with your story, all right? You let her out. It's freezing cold out, and you leave. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
What's she gonna do?
I don't know what she does.
After talking to him for several hours, we knew that he was not going to be 100% truthful with us. We left the room for a short break and to give him a break as well.
They returned with a plan to get the truth.
Just for two double cheeseburgers is what he wanted.
Criminals never surprise me. Some come in and think they're smarter than us.
I don't disrespect y'all or none of that. You know, I respect what y'all do because I had a job to protect society. You know, I didn't kill this woman. I really did.
If he's not going to admit to doing this, then maybe he will admit to being there, but someone else being involved. So we interjected a possible storyline for him to use at that point.
If there's a second dude, now's the time to tell me. Even if you don't want to tell me the name, I need to know if there was a second dude in the car.
He bought into that right away, and when he knew that we had a lot of information putting him in the locations, then he started saying, well, okay, I was there, but this person that I knew from middle school was threatening my family.
So did he tell you to go and get a girl? Huh? Whose idea was it to go get the girl? It wasn't to specifically get a specific person. It was to get money. Yes. How much money did he expect? He told me he needed about $2,000, $3,000 tonight, or if he's going to go get my family. So. Okay.
Then he would give us a little bit more information and a little bit more information.
Oh, what's he go by? What name does he go by? TJ. TJ? Is he black guy? Tall, skinny, fat, round? He ain't fat. He's like I really got it. He's about 5'11", 6 foot, roughly like 210, 220 at the most.
His name was TJ, and he made me do it. He made me rob her, he made me rape her, and he killed her.
He said, all I want to do is live. I got you, I got you, I got you. She screamed, she said, I just want to leave. I just want to go home. He told her, bitch, shut up. She ain't seen nothing for the whole rest of the car ride. You get down to the park, what happens? We got there. He says, you get out. To him? Like, to me. I'm like, what's up? He says, you take off all your clothes. I'm like, well, what is you doing, bro? He said, just go let her go. He falls her. He get behind her. She got her hands up. And he shoots her back in the head the first time. She falls. He shot her again when she let her go. He shot her inside her head, bro. This is the first time I've ever seen somebody get to my whole life, dude.
I mean, it's not unheard of to have a second person involved that we didn't know about. Is there a TJ?
We saturated the area where he said that this TJ person hung out, and nobody could come up with anyone even close to TJ.
TJ was complete fiction.
His level of detail and what we knew matched up perfectly and exactly. So we knew that we had the right person. But we still needed to find the gun. Occasionally he would ask for a cigarette break. So we would take him out into our Sally Port, which is a garage area.
See you later. We're going to have questions breaks are long. It's not. We're going to go run his information and try to track down TJ, but I didn't get that done.
He asked for 2 burgers from a restaurant. 2 double cheeseburgers is what he wanted. And as soon as he had the hamburgers, he told us where the gun was located at.
On the other side of the railroad. On the other side of the railroad? Whoever. On the other side of the railroad.
They found the gun in a storm sewer. They were able to throw a magnet down and pull it back a little bit, and there it was, matched up perfectly.
We don't often get murder weapons, so to get a murder weapon's a pretty big deal.
Golsby was charged with aggravated murder, kidnapping, rape, and robbery.
Detectives are reviewing other crimes such as robberies in German Village in southeast Columbus to see if Golsby could be connected to those.
His ankle monitor showed he was at the scene of at least 6 armed robberies before the murder of Reagan Tokes. The prosecutor decided to seek the death penalty.
Prosecutors said Golsby is a repeat violent offender and a sexually violent predator, and said his criminal history, not his race, is what makes him eligible for the death penalty.
If you're going to have a death sentence in this state or any other state, this is the kind of case that it should be used upon.
We're going live now to Columbus, Ohio for opening statements in the murder trial of Brian Golsby, accused of rape and execution-style murder of Ohio State University student Reagan Tokes. Golsby could face the death penalty.
And to have to sit there in that same room with that person who does not even deserve to breathe air was the most awful experience. He is a soulless individual.
He looked at us all the time, but I never could quite figure out what he was thinking. He had no emotion. It was a very, very, very difficult couple weeks.
The district attorney, Ron O'Brien, wanted the jury to know about Reagan.
21-year-old Ohio State University student from the Toledo area, psychology major who was looking to graduate in May of last year, who never made that graduation because she was executed point blank in the head, the handgun.
Especially since the state was seeking the death penalty, we wanted to make sure the jury knew and understood what a terrible, brutal, horrific crime this was.
He continued to lie and blame this fellow, TJ. He claimed that he was forced to rape her by this mysterious TJ. And we'll play you the series of lies that he told those Grove City detectives trying to cover up his tracks. Thank you for your attention, and we look forward to presenting that evidence to satisfy you with your burden. Thank you.
Golsby was represented by two public defenders, Diane Menashe and Court Goddardam.
We were up against two very accomplished, phenomenal defense counsel, and they showed it throughout this case from the very beginning.
The presumption of innocence remains with Mr. Golsby throughout this trial. There will be evidence presented by the state in this trial that we may not contest. We do not have to present any witnesses on our own, and we don't plan to present any at this point in time. We have no burden of proof whatsoever.
They were going to make us prove our case.
The prosecutors played long stretches of the interrogation of Brian Golsby. His claims about TJ.
He's about 5'11", 6 foot.
And his description of the last words he heard from Reagan.
She said, all I want to do is live.
All I want to do is live.
Correct.
And there was testimony about the gun recovered from the sewer, linked to the bullets removed from Reagan's body.
And were you able to tell if those fired bullets were fired from that exact gun?
Yes, I was able to conclude the two fired bullets that were submitted were fired from this revolver.
And the prosecution may call its next witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Hattersley Jackson.
But the prosecution's strongest witnesses were the women in Brian Golsby's life who agreed to testify against him.
Is that person here in court today?
Yes.
Would you tell us, for the record, where he's sitting?
He's sitting on the right hand of the court, wearing a white t-shirt.
Okay, and for the record, to be the defendant.
That's correct.
She was at first a little uncooperative, but we were able to convince her, hey, this is the right thing to do, and she finally agreed to it.
I have a paper bag here, Ms. Jackson, that in marked for purposes of identification as State's Exhibit I, and I'm going to remove the contents, which is a black purse that says Kate Spade on the side. Does that item look familiar to you?
That's the purse.
The purse Reagan Tokes had with her the night she was murdered, that Golsby had given to his girlfriend as a gift.
And did he tell you where he got it?
No.
Okay.
On the final day of the state's case, prosecutors brought in two more women who had relationships with Brian Golsby, starting with the mother of his 6-year-old daughter.
My name is Jennifer Nicole.
She invoked an Ohio law that keeps witnesses' faces from being shown.
After his arrest, did you visit him in the jail?
Yes.
Will you tell the jury the circumstances of that visit?
I said, did you rape Reagan? He shook his head like this. I started to cry.
So indicating yes for the
Yes. And I asked him if he killed her. He shook his head yes. I dropped the phone and I left the visit.
Was Brittany visiting that same day?
Yes.
So the next witness was Brittany Stepp.
Are you nervous?
Yes.
Take a deep breath for a moment.
Tell us what happened.
Jennifer was visiting Brian, and she had slammed the phone down. I picked the phone up, and I looked at him. I said, "What happened?" And he just looked at me, and he said, "I'm sorry." I said, "Sorry for what?" He said, "I'm sorry, I got scared." I said, "Did you do it?" And he shook his head, yes. And I said, "No," and I said you to him and slammed the phone down.
Can you show us with your head what he did when you asked him that? Okay. For the record, you're nodding your head up and down?
Yes.
In a yes motion?
Yes.
Morning.
Morning.
Reagan Tokes went through every woman's nightmare. She was kidnapped, she was robbed, she was raped, and she was murdered. So for aggravated murder, you need purposely with prior calculation and design caused the death of Reagan? Why are you shooting her twice if you don't have the purpose to kill her? He knew exactly what he was going to do, and that is prior calculation and design. So afterwards, we hear about this TJ guy, right? TJ. Ask yourself if those statements about TJ make any sense at all. TJ does not exist. The defendant is TJ. There is only one verdict that you can return on this case, and that's guilty of everything. Thank you.
Thank you. You may begin your closing when you're ready.
Thank you, Judge.
The state would have you believe that this guy is capable of prior calculation and design. And with all due respect to Mr. Golsby, if Mr. Golsby were that smart, he wouldn't have been wearing a GPS monitor while he's committing crimes. It doesn't make sense. He is not capable of prior calculation and design.
Diane's a good attorney, and she stood up in her closing and said, look, I'm gonna let you in on a little secret, ladies and gentlemen.
We have done nothing to present to you a theory of TJ, because Brian is TJ. Let's just take TJ out of it. TJ's Brian.
I'll never forget it. It was pretty good. It was a good move by her. You know, when you give up something like that, if anything, it makes the defense more credible. I think it was a good move to kind of take away some of my thunder.
Mr. Lowe, rebuttal.
Ms. Menashe started out talking about that there's no prior calculation. That argument is absurd. We'd agree he's not smart, but he's smart enough to plan. He's smart enough to know that if Reagan Tokes lives, she's gonna come into court and point to him and say, that's the man who raped me. That's the man who robbed me. He's smart enough for that.
Has the jury reached a unanimous verdict?
Yes, sir.
On all counts?
Yes.
If you would hand the verdict forms to the bailiff, please. Verdict: we, the jury in this case, being duly impaneled and sworn, find the defendant guilty beyond a reasonable doubt.
Almost catatonic, didn't see any emotion, didn't really move a lot, not a lot of expressions. He looked pathetic more than anything else.
The only thing that really was of any debate was whether he was going to get to allow to live or whether he deserved the same fate that he did to Reagan. That was the only debate in that courtroom.
Then the hard part for us begins, because the penalty phase is all about the defendant. And essentially, how does the person that's sitting before the jury get there? So it's the defense's turn to point out, this is how Brian Lee Golsby came to sit in front of you.
And so I want to talk about Brian's story. And I know throughout the several weeks in trial, he was always referred to as either Mr. Golsby, or sometimes people said Mr. Goolsby. But it's Brian. He is a human being. He has a pulse. He eats, he walks, he sits next to me at the counsel table.
The defense hired a psychologist, Howard Franken, who met with Golsby to document the traumas he said he suffered as a child.
I know that he'd said that he was engaging in these many behaviors to cause pain to people, like the pain that he had experienced. That's what he reported to me. So they include physical violence, sexual abuse at the age of 12, abandoned by his father as well as his mother, his parents who separated, who hated one another, drug and alcohol dependent mother, and an alcoholic grandmother who lived with them, a mother with several mental illnesses, a victim of bullying, and a victim of gang violence. These are all very serious types of trauma.
Many people who have those problems in their lives, in their upbringing, do not go out and commit the kind of crimes we have here in this courtroom. Correct, Doctor?
That's an answer, Your Honor. Objection.
Sustained.
What I'm questioning is the kind of treatment he was getting and the failure of the system, the failure of the treatment folks to help him understand why he was having so many problems.
Okay, let me get this right. You're saying that if he had the treatment program with this record,
that you have recommended, he would have responded and not continued to commit these crimes?
I believe that's a very good possibility.
And now the defense played its last card. Brian Golsby would speak to the jury.
In our capital cases, the defendant has the right to make an unsworn statement, which means we don't get to cross-examine them. And he doesn't have to take an oath saying, I'm going to tell the truth.
Today, I would like to apologize to the Tokes family for the crimes I committed against your daughter, friend, and family. When I first got locked up, I lied about everything. Said it was TJ. There is no TJ. TJ's not real. I made TJ up because I was trying to wiggle my way out of the crime that I committed. But the only other thing I have to say is, please have mercy on me. That's all I'd like to say.
I think that he wanted mercy for himself, and that was, mercy that he hadn't shown Reagan.
There's talk of a systemic failure. Ask yourself, is there anything at all mitigating about the fact that he kidnapped, robbed, raped, and murdered Reagan Tokes? The state would submit to you that there is nothing, nada, zilch, mitigating about the nature and circumstances of the offense. And I'm standing before you now, asking each of you to put pen to paper and return a verdict of death. Thank you very much.
Brian Golsby had every reason not to come up here and stand in front of you and say what he did. He knows what you think of him. I went back in that holding tank afterwards and I told Brian, I am so effing proud of you. I know that Mr. Lowe asked you to kill Brian. I'm not going to ask, I'm going to beg. And it's not something I do often. I beg you, do not kill him. Thank you.
The family very much wanted the result of the death penalty, and you want to bring them some solace, some small measure of comfort.
We understand that Judge Mark Sarek is in the courtroom. We are going to be waiting for the jurors to be seated, and we are going to be awaiting their recommendation for the sentence.
Everybody may be seated. We, the jury, being deadlocked and unable to agree on whether the aggravating circumstances outweigh the mitigating factors beyond a reasonable doubt, hereby unanimously determine the following life sentence on count 1. Life imprisonment without parole, signed by all 12 jurors.
The jurors told us afterwards the decision was intense.
It was tough. 8 of us was for the death, and there was 2 of the jurors, they were for life, and then 2 of them was just even. We couldn't discount what he did to her, but at the same time, the system failed him greatly.
A jury spared Brian Golsby's life today, but couldn't spare him from hearing emotional words from the victim's family.
Regardless of the outcome of today's verdict, it doesn't bring our daughter back. It doesn't erase the night of terror that Reagan had to endure. Most importantly, it doesn't change that she wasn't granted her last wish. And to quote our daughter, her last words, "I just want to live." We know that Reagan is in heaven and evil has not won. We will take the high road and focus our energy on doing good, just like Reagan was. Her beautiful, bright, vibrant light and energy, love and spirit is forever. Thank you.
You asked for mercy, sir, and you showed none that night. You had a horrible background, but you did have choices. And so your life got spared because of your childhood, and yet Reagan did nothing wrong, whatsoever, and I find it ironic. And yet she forfeited her life because of your background. You get spared because of your background, and yet she forfeited her life. So at any rate, this is a horrible crime. It's sad all the way around. That's all the comments I'm going to make.
He doesn't exist to us. I can tell you, he doesn't exist. He hasn't existed in our world since the day we heard his name. This was about justice for Reagan, and I believe that happened.
So grateful to have all of you here today supporting the rally for Reagan.
One of the most wonderful things that's come out of this is the foundation that we've created in her name, the Reagan Tokes Memorial Foundation. And we've been able to give several $100,000 worth of scholarships away.
And again, thank you so much for the support today. We really appreciate having you here, and we're so proud of the work that we're able to do in Reagan's honor and memory. She's with us in our hearts always.
But Reagan's most lasting legacy may be the new laws her parents have lobbied the Ohio legislature to pass, the Reagan Tokes Act.
There are now consequences, and you can have time added to your sentence if you do not show reform and you have infractions while incarcerated.
The law would have kept Brian Golsby behind bars for another 3 years.
The second phase is getting the ankle monitor program so that it's monitored in real time as it should be. So it's actually doing what it's intended to do, which is being preventative.
And Ohio, I believe, is safer because of Reagan today. The failures that she unfortunately paid for.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, the conferring of degrees.
Reagan's parents and her sister Mackenzie were at the graduation ceremony where their daughter was honored posthumously.
Reagan Tokes to receive the degree Bachelor of Arts.
A bittersweet moment, what should have been the start of a bright future.
Where would she be today at 27? Would she be that psychologist at the Cleveland Clinic that she dreamed of?
Would she be married? Would I be an aunt to a niece or nephew? There's always joy that you can find with it because she was an amazing person.
And we miss her immensely and terribly, but hold her in our hearts every day.
There's a vehicle, but there's no Jolene. Oh my God, where is my daughter?
Search for a 34-year-old mother of three, Jolene Cummings, was last seen at this Tangles hair salon.
Jolene's clients had been with her for years.
She loved being a stylist.
We always talked about her kids. They were her heart. They were her heart.
She was supposed to leave work at Tangles hair salon at about 5 p.m. You can see on the video a figure dressed in all dark clothing.
The 34-year-old is going through a divorce and custody battle.
And then she had a boyfriend that we discovered that there had been a recent domestic incident with them.
Do me a favor, let me hold your hands up like that. You got some scratches on your wrist there.
Kimberly Kesler has been known by 14 different aliases, and she would find these aliases from cemeteries or from obituaries. She could use the same electric carving knife and very quickly cut up a body.
When I attempted to locate the resident, no such address even existed.
Fake also to Jolene meant that you're not who you say you are. And that's why she was going to find out, who is this person?
Your wife is in a bar, you said she's unresponsive?
This is what he's going to tell you. How to get out of that situation.
And I grabbed the gun.
Trying to find the first place to put a body.
No, sir.
The only thing they could do was kill him.
You want to say anything?
We, the jury, and to find the defendant.
Right this minute, deputies in Nassau County are asking for your help finding this missing woman. This is a missing mom named Jolene Cummings.
She hasn't been seen since Saturday and did not show up to pick up her kids from her ex-husband on Mother's Day.
I really didn't know what to think. It wasn't like Jolene. Initially I thought, well, she's sleeping because she worked so hard. You know, every Saturday that was her busiest day.
Jolene Cummings worked at the Tangles Hair Salon in the town of Yuri, Florida.
Nice people who worked there. Jolene's clients had been with her for years. People knew one another.
Oh gosh, she loved being a stylist. She had a lot of loyal customers.
Jolene was a free spirit. She was very kind. She was loving. We always talked about her kids. They were her heart. They were her heart.
There was always a big celebration for Mother's Day, but this was extra special. And it was her birthday. It would have been the first Mother's Day she was able to celebrate with the 3 children, being Mother's Day and her birthday. I knew there was something wrong. Jolene would never, ever miss picking up those children.
She didn't call her own mother, and she didn't post anything on social media. And so the day after Mother's Day, Jolene's mother called the sheriff's office to report her daughter missing.
The case was assigned to Nassau County Sheriff's Detective Wayne Harrington.
The last time we could determine that she was seen was Saturday around the time that she was supposed to leave work at Tangles Hair Salon about 5 p.m.
First Coast News reporter Nick Perot has been digging to find out more about Cummings and has more tonight from Nassau County.
The 34-year-old with her ex-husband and is going through a divorce and custody battle. He claims, however, she's probably on a bender somewhere.
Everybody was a suspect, but certainly law enforcement looked at those people who were close to Jolene with scrutiny.
And certainly, she did have a husband that she was in the process of a divorce with, and she had a boyfriend that we discovered that there had been a recent domestic incident with him. So those are going to be 2 of the first people that we wanted to speak to.
All right, let me read these to you, okay? You have the right to remain silent.
The husband was very cooperative from the start. He voluntarily showed up at the sheriff's office.
Detective Harrington told the husband, Jason Cummings, that he was a person of interest.
I'm here because Jolene's missing, okay? She hadn't been seen since she left work on Saturday. My hope is that she is going to turn up. I have no evidence right now that it's foul play. I have no evidence that it's not foul play, but it's concerning to me. Do they know where her boyfriend is?
Her husband told the detective Jolene's new boyfriend was a junkie.
I found out that she was hanging out with the wrong crowd. You use the word junkie and you're talking about drugs. What are you saying, that she has some kind of drug habit?
I don't know per se that she does.
Okay.
But I know the crowd she was hanging out with is known for being idiots.
Okay.
I've seen this happen a dozen times.
What do you mean seeing what happened?
She disappeared for a few days.
Okay.
And I got my hopes hoping that it is drugged. I hope she's on drugs. I hope she's coming back and I need help. That's what I think.
He allowed for a search of his cellular phone. He allowed a search of his vehicle, and he gave a account of his activity for the weekend. And we did follow up and verify his alibi. And it was determined that he had nothing to do with Jolene going missing.
So now Jolene's boyfriend, Jason G., emerged as a person of great interest, especially after police learned he was wanted on an outstanding warrant.
We did locate him and arrested him on the unrelated warrant.
I want you to know you're not charged in any way with her being missing. Right now, we don't know if foul play is involved or not involved.
You know, they had issues in their relationship that became known to law enforcement.
Do me a favor, let me hold your hands up like this. Okay. Flip on for me. You got some scratches on your wrist and everything. Tell me about those.
He said they came from playing with his dog.
We did have a report of a confrontation at her house a few days earlier.
Do you mind if I take a look at your chest and back, make sure you don't got much claw marks or anything?
So certainly we wanted to talk to him.
You didn't cause any harm to Joey? No, sir. None whatsoever? None whatsoever. Would you be willing to take a polygraph? Yes. I did not hurt Joey. I had no problem taking a polygraph.
But G could not recall exactly where he had been over the last 2 days and said he had somehow lost his phone.
If you could be sitting in our seats and listen to this interview like I told you these cameras are for real, your story's making no sense.
Oh, well then I need to get a lawyer to help me out.
It's time for you to come clean and tell us what you did with it.
I didn't do nothing with it.
Then where's your phone? This is your opportunity here to clear your name and you're acting like a jack.
Y'all are being to me. I had nothing to do with this.
Remember this when you're looking at this in court 6 months from now, when you listen to this interview and you sit there lying.
I ain't lying.
But there was still no evidence of a crime, no sign of Jolene or of her car.
You know, she's an adult. We didn't know if she just went off with somebody else for the weekend and didn't show. We didn't know.
Good evening from Yuri. An update here from Jolene Cummings. The search for a 34-year-old mother of 3 was last seen at this Tangles hair salon.
It was day 2 of the search for Jolene Cummings.
Police want you to be on the lookout for this beige 2006 Ford Expedition with Florida tag 035 KBQ.
The day after the flyer was released, I had a gentleman call and said that he believed that he had seen the vehicle in a Home Depot parking lot in Yuri.
There's a vehicle, but there's no Jolene. Oh my God, where is my daughter?
The discovery of Jolene's car was an important break in this case. Once they got the surveillance video, it just led to one piece of evidence after another.
The video showed the vehicle being parked there about 1:17 a.m. You can see on the video a figure dressed in all dark colored, appeared to be all black color clothing, walking towards a nearby convenience store.
We knew she was a woman dressed in all black, but law enforcement did not know who she was.
She eventually asked the clerk to use the phone to get a taxi cab. We started looking at it, this possibly foul play involved with this missing person. We may be working something here other than just a missing person.
All of these things are happening at one time while detectives are at the salon, talking to the owner, finding out who was last with Jolene.
The women at the salon said Jolene and another stylist, Jennifer Seibert, were scheduled to close up the salon on that Saturday.
They were able to put 2 and 2 together and have one of Jolene's colleagues actually identify Jennifer Seibert from the video.
Jennifer had already raised suspicions earlier in the day.
She was actually physically pulling into the parking lot, and when the owner told her that the police were there, she immediately exited the parking lot and told the owner that she was not going to come into work. As a matter of fact, she was quitting and they could mail her final paycheck. Spoke to the owner of the salon and got an address that she had provided on her employment application. When I attempted to locate the residence, there's no such address even existed.
She was crazy. She was never wanting to let anybody know any personal things about her at all. Where she came from, where she'd been, where she lived. She's just so weird. She's just so weird. And I remember telling my mom, I was like, I feel like that she killed somebody and she's on the run.
I'd gotten my hair cut, and Jolene and I were talking, and she just kind of comes up and butts right in, and she's really kind of nasty towards Jolene.
And we kind of come to the conclusion that maybe she was living out of her vehicle. So, we began to search the area, both within Nassau County and surrounding counties.
We eventually found her down in St. Johns County, and she was taken into custody for auto theft, for stealing Jolene's vehicle.
My name's Wayne, this is Charlie. We want to talk to you for a few minutes. What name do you want me to call you? Because I was talking to the detective that drove you up, and he said I might have been calling you by the wrong name.
When you run my fingerprints through, they come up as Kimberly Lee Kesler. I was born in May of 1968, May 9th. I am 50 years old. I've been living under this particular alias since 1999, so not quite 1999. This is 18, about 19 years. And that's about it. So I would prefer to be called Kim.
She had gone by about 17 different names, lived in 33 cities and 14 states. She's obviously running or hiding from something.
If you look at the series of her driver's license photos over the course of the last 2 decades, it's remarkable. Hairstyle, hair color, weight. She changes her appearance to fit whoever it is that she wants to be at that moment. And she would find and own these aliases from cemeteries or from obituaries. The name Jennifer Seibert is the name of a young woman who was killed in a car crash. She tried to make the reason that she had this alias was because she'd obtained an injunction against an abusive boyfriend. What we made of it, it was just more of her deception.
Okay, I just want to make sure that I'm calling you by your right name. I was trying to build a rapport with her. I noticed right away that she loved to talk about herself.
I was working as a topless dancer, and that was before my truck driving debut. So, and I did that just for a little while. I love to dance, and I'm ready to go back to being myself. I spent, about 25 years running from the FBI, and thought I could build a life for myself, and I've done nothing. I've been trying. I've been living in my car for the last over 2 years.
The interview took a different turn, and we started confronting her about the disappearance and that we believed that she had done something with Jolene.
Did an accident happen between y'all?
Hey, I think Jolene's dead, and I think you know where Jolene is.
And then Detective Wayne Harrington told Kesler to think of Jolene's 2 little boys.
I dread the point, but it's going to happen. I'm going to have to tell them that their mom is gone. Okay.
And we need to know where
but I need to at least let them be able to give her a proper. She's out there somewhere. Her body's out there somewhere. We're going to find out what happened. I don't mean that in a threat. I don't mean that in a bad way. I've been here for 4 days, almost 16, 18 hours a day, because I'm going to find out where those little boys' mama is. I promise you I'm going to do that. You can help me do that, and you're the one that can make it happen right now.
No, I cannot, and I'm not, again, whatever fury may come. So let me reply this way, and you may not like the answer. I would like legal counsel.
She immediately at that time knew it was time to stop talking and request an attorney. Let me clarify. Do you not want to talk to me without legal counsel? Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You're going to get an attorney, but if you change your mind and want to talk to me, I'm going to reunite those boys if it's nothing but with their mother's body. I know that's a sin. I know she's dead. Okay?
All right.
She was taken into custody, obviously, for the auto theft, and then quickly we honed in on her as Jolene's murderer.
Now there's a growing memorial for the woman police believe to be dead.
The hair salon was now a crime scene.
At that time, I said, we got to get our crime scene guys over to that salon and really process it. To the naked eye, just general appearance, she did a pretty good job of cleaning up.
But the forensic team has ways to see what the naked eye cannot, using a chemical called luminol, or blue star, that turns blue when it detects even small amounts of blood.
Basically, there were areas of the salon that literally lit up like a Christmas tree. It was very obvious that there had been a significant amount of blood throughout the salon. There was a mop that was located in the salon that had obviously been cleaned, but it also tested positive for blood, which indicated that, that was one of the items that was used to clean the salon.
The focus was no longer on Jolene Cummings' boyfriend. Especially after the discovery of a new surveillance video of Kimberly Kesler.
There were some dumpsters that were located behind the salon. We could see her emptying garbage bags into the dumpster, but you could tell they had some significant weight to them. As you watch the video, the way she had to throw them into the dumpster. So we did have the video of her disposing of something in the dumpster. She's also seen with a large blue plastic bin, and she's seen carrying that or dragging it out back and actually dumping some contents into the wood line behind the salon. We did recover that blue bin. It was left in the wood line. It did test positive for blood, and a portion of one of Jolene's fingernails was found inside that bin.
The prosecutors wanted much more than just one fingernail.
So we contacted the landfill to see where those trucks that emptied those dumpsters, where would they go and where would they dump.
The search for the Nassau County mother of three, it is now crossing state lines, leading investigators to a landfill in Georgia.
It was in July. It was very hot. It was nasty. That's the last place you want to look for something, is a garbage landfill. Everything looks the same, because when they dump, they got these bulldozers pushing the trash in different areas. And so you may dump here, but it may wind up over there.
We're obviously looking for human remains. We're looking for the type of clothing that Jolene was wearing.
We did find a lot of bones in those areas. We had to call a professor, and she determined they were all animal bones.
But in the search for Jolene,
had no luck.
No body found at all.
We have successfully tried first-degree murder cases without bodies before, and under the law in Florida, we can do that.
And the effort to find enough evidence to bring murder charges led to a warrant to go through Kesler's internet search history.
She searched for female serial killers in Florida. She searched for no body, no crime.
And detectives tracked down people around the country who had dealt with Kesler. A doctor at the Mayo Clinic in Minnesota who had rented her an apartment.
Her lifestyle was bizarre. She had a significant amount of paranoia and delusional mental activity.
A man in Texas who met her online.
And then when she came up here, she offered to marry me.
A classmate of Kesler's from high school whose brother had broken up with her.
And she said, "I'll get even with you," and she waited for him to fall asleep, but she hit him over the mouth with a baseball bat and basically just blew all his teeth right out.
An ex-boyfriend in Pennsylvania.
She had a cat, and she's like, "Well, I couldn't take him with me, so I had to kill him."
Did she say how she did that?
She shot him with a shotgun.
But in the case of Jolene Cummings, detectives believe Kesler took a much different approach.
We actually had video surveillance and a receipt of her going to the Walmart store in Fernandina Beach.
She purchased a gallon of ammonia, some glam gloves, rubber gloves, and what was shocking to me, she bought an electric knife. Now I'm thinking, you got to be kidding me. She's not going to do something like that.
We retained a forensic anthropologist who conducted an experiment on a cadaver
and was able to confirm that, in fact, yes, she used the same electric carving knife that we know that Kimberly Kesler bought from a Walmart. And very quickly and very easily, you can cut up a body. It's clear there was a fight in that salon. It's clear, even though we don't have Jolene's body, that she fought back. And it's clear to us that Kimberly Kesler cut up Jolene's body. It's horrifying.
Tonight, Kimberly Kesler is charged with first-degree premeditated murder. There's still no body, but deputies say they have both physical and circumstantial evidence. Our Julia Janae is live at the state attorney's office tonight with the rest of the story. Julia.
Today, the mother of Jolene Cummings, who said she's heartbroken, but also telling me that she's thankful at how the community has reacted to her daughter's missing persons case.
Jolene's life was stolen from us. Not by the hands of God, but by evil itself, manifested in what I call a monster.
She's a sociopath.
Those hurting you?
No, they feel great. You can put them on tighter if you want. Whatever you want to do.
We can
Match your mercy, so have as much fun as you'd like.
And she's also a very narcissistic person. I think she was interested, weirdly, about what fame or attention this might even bring her.
Do a little Jade.
This is a prepaid call from
Ken Kesler. Hello, Mom. It's kind of funny. They keep me in solitary confinement like it's a bad thing. It's heaven, girl. I love it. I don't know what happened. All I know is that I didn't do anything. I had nothing to do with it. I have no idea. They're just trying to make me look bad in front of the judge by keeping me in here and just making it so I stay in here. Because they don't have anything on me because it's all bull.
I truly think that she thinks she's smarter than everybody else and that she didn't need anybody else, that she could get away with this, that she was going to get away with murder.
Miss Kimberly Kesler, or Cyber, she said she will not want to come out to court. She's going to put out a show.
While she was held in the Nassau County Jail pretrial, she went on a hunger strike.
She got down to 70-something pounds. I did go over and talk to her one day. I asked her why she didn't eat. She said she was afraid she was going to be poisoned.
She did terrible things in the jail. The guards who were responsible for keeping her safe and fed and were incredibly abused by Kimberly Kesler. She would throw her feces at them, and she did searches about what the punishment, the penalty for doing that was.
She was playing crazy. She was acting crazy, but she wasn't crazy.
But Kesler's defense lawyers saw an opening that they could prove she was not competent to stand trial.
So her lawyers brought this incompetency issue before the court on multiple occasions.
We are following breaking news this afternoon. A judge has ruled that Kimberly Kesler is incompetent to stand trial for the murder of a Nassau County mother. She will now be sent to a Florida behavioral hospital.
She's a nut, for lack of a better word. Does she have personality disorders? She probably does. But is she crazy and doesn't understand? No, I don't buy that for a minute.
But there would be no trial unless the prosecution could reverse the ruling and prove Kimberly Kesler was indeed competent to stand trial. The competency hearing was pivotal.
I'm a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner.
Alexandra Johnson was the prosecution's key witness.
That her behavior is something that is thought out and organized, as opposed to somebody who's just smearing feces everywhere.
And our prosecutors did a really fine job of bringing in the guards who were communicating with her on a daily basis.
Is Ms. Kesler capable of communicating her thoughts with her needs to you? Yes, ma'am. Everything I've heard you say.
We had a fantastic judge in this case, trial judge. It became very apparent to all of us and the court that this was just more of the same. Her deliberately attempting to control a scenario. This is not a crazy person or an incompetent person.
And first at 5 tonight, a high-profile murder suspect is competent to stand trial. The ruling comes just 3 months after Kimberly Kesler was found mentally incompetent to stand trial.
But it would be a murder trial with no body, and in the courtroom, no defendant.
Every time she came into the courtroom, she had outbursts.
Jordan Beard is Jolene Cummings' cousin.
She was just yelling.
She wouldn't cooperate with anybody, wouldn't cooperate with her attorneys.
I refuse it. I have refused it. I refuse the public defender's office. They appointed Jordan Beard, Jolene Cummings' cousin.
She kept saying a phrase about Jordan Beard, who was representing her in the case, saying that that was Jolene Cummings' cousin. Of course it wasn't, but she would make those outbursts continually in the courtroom.
And what, you don't want the public to know that? You don't want them to know?
The judge would attempt to talk to her, to ask her to participate in her defense, and she refused to.
All right, here she is being removed from the courtroom.
So the judge, there was no way to really conduct court with her in there.
The jury did not know about the multitude of times that Kimberly Kesler had tried to act crazy, fake crazy. They didn't know that at all. And they also didn't know why she wasn't in the courtroom.
Kesler was downstairs in a holding area, watching a video feed from the courtroom.
Finally, one last instruction I need to read to you. Kimberly Kesler is absent from these proceedings at this time. This is a matter which must not in any way affect you during the proceedings in this case. You must not engage in any speculation nor draw any inference from Ms. Kesler's absence. It must not in any way affect your verdict. So at this time, counsel for the state ready for it to begin.
Good morning. On Saturday, May 12, 2018, Jolene Cummings was a devoted mother of 3 young children. Jolene had plans to make a Mother's Day gift with her children to give to her own mother, Ann Thompson. But as Jolene Cummings made plans for the next day of her life, the defendant had planned Jolene's death.
And prosecutor Donna Thurston took the jury through the forensic evidence from the salon and the surveillance footage of Kesler.
In addition to the physical evidence, we had the very compelling internet searches that Kesler had done. Her own searches, her own words, her own inquiry was incredibly damning evidence.
It is this evidence that will convince you beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant planned the murder of Jolene Cummings.
All right, counsel for the defense. Okay. Morning, gentlemen.
Kesler's other public defender, Thomas Townsend, who she had also tried to fire, did not dispute the basic facts of the case.
Physical evidence in this case that you're going to see is going to convince you very clearly that the only thing the state can prove in this case is that there was some sort of fight, some violent physical altercation. It clearly happened. And the evidence will not show, what the state cannot show, is who started it, how that fight started, where it occurred, how it ended.
And Kesler's lawyer knew that under Florida law, first-degree murder requires an element of premeditation.
There was simply no planning. This is after the fact, thinking on her feet, having to clean up a mess. She didn't plan this, and it does clearly show that there was simply no premeditation in this case. Ladies and gentlemen, at the end of this case, we will be convinced beyond a reasonable doubt of one thing. That is, the state cannot prove Ms. Kesler guilty of first-degree premeditated murder with a weapon.
So, the women who worked at the Tangles hair salon would be key to the prosecution case to describe the bad blood between Kimberly and Jolene. Salon owner Vicki Simmons read text messages Jolene sent her about Kimberly.
It's just real smart mouthy towards everyone. It's been a week. I'm just trying to avoid her. She has been real negative. There is some things little off about her. I can't put my finger on it.
Jolene started to become suspicious of Jennifer Seibert. She, I think, doubted Jennifer Seibert's story of her life.
Salon manager Ann Morgan testified by Zoom.
She told defendant, go away, I don't like you. Go away, I don't like you. And then...
Do you remember Jolene Cummings telling the defendant, you're fake?
You fake, yes. I remember so that you fake, go away, I don't like you.
I think when she used the word fake. Fake also to Jolene meant that you're not who you say you are. Like, Jolene was good at her instincts about people. And that's why she was going to start Googling her to find out, who is this person?
All right, are we ready to begin today?
No.
Every single morning in trial, she was brought to the courtroom and asked if she would like to participate.
As director of the jail.
This case sort of wanted to go out back up to advise you that there's taking the rest of their case, and the defense is now, it's their case, and not to present evidence on your behalf, including if you want to testify on your own behalf. So again, I want to give you the opportunity to advise you that and make sure that you want to stay in court. You're just shaking your head.
All right. Jordan Beard is Jolene Cummings' cousin. Jordan.
The defense only called one witness.
We would call Detective Wayne Harrington.
And he was asked about the contents of a tote bag found in Jolene Cummings' SUV.
And was that bag ultimately submitted to the Florida Department of Law Enforcement for testing?
Yes, ma'am.
And what were the results of that submission when it was tested?
You were tested.
I don't have any other questions on the clock.
The defense rested its case in less than 1 hour after calling just one witness. Closing arguments begin at 8:15 Thursday morning.
Today's going to be closing arguments with jury instructions. I'm going to let you know that. If you can be seated over there with counsel.
I refuse.
Okay.
I refuse. Do you want me to say it again? Sure. I refuse this venal, unjust counsel. Jordan Beard is Jolene Cummings' cousin. Jordan Beard is Jolene Cummings' cousin.
So at this point in time, I will proceed to counsel for the state.
Good morning. The defendant was the last person with Jolene. From her internet searches, it's obvious that she intended to kill her. The searches indicated that she was considering killing Jolene Cummings by a drug overdose. That is all the evidence you need to find the defendant's premeditation beyond a reasonable doubt. The defendant wanted Jolene Cummings, right? She killed her. And she attempted to conceal her crime. One of her last searches, no body, no crime. That's a confession.
May it please the court, counsel, good morning. I submit that any one of us could have Google searches, web searches, cherry-picked from our phone or our computer, taken out of context, could look evil or nefarious without saying, well, yeah, I was listening to this podcast or I read this article. Everyone following this case, everyone's been following this case for 3.5 years, has probably Googled something similar. That doesn't make those cases murder. Those web searches lack context. So what does all of this show? What has the state proven to be beyond reason that the jail was a fight? That there was violent conflict after 5 o'clock, it was done by 7:50. That's what we know. What the state cannot offer you, they have absolutely no proof of, are the questions that you need to decide this case. Who started it? Who was the aggressor in this fight? Who was defending themselves? How did it end? There are no answers to those questions. You don't get to fill in the blanks. And it may not seem fair to say, well, it could have been this, it could have been that. No. His offer shows both of them. It's no fight throughout this salon, front to the back. Runner, gentlemen, jury, we're asking you to find Ms. Kesler not guilty of this offense. Thank you.
We're taking a live look here at the Nassau County Courthouse as we are on verdict watch. Right this minute, jurors are deliberating in the case against Kimberly Kesler for the murder of a Nassau County woman some 3.5 years ago.
Kesler, I've been advised that the verdict has been reached in your case. I'm going to give you the opportunity to participate and listen to the verdict. All right, to do that, you can must not disrupt these proceedings.
Refuse.
Pardon?
No, thank you.
All right. You want to go back downstairs?
Yes.
All right, fair enough then. You can take her back. Madam Clerk, will you please publish the verdicts?
The Circuit Court of the 4th Judicial Circuit and for Nassau County, Florida, verdict count 1, first-degree murder. We, the jury, found the defendant guilty of first-degree murder as charged in the indictment.
It's been a long 3 years. 3 years, 7 months, and 9 days that my daughter Jolene was taken from us. Today we praise God. We praise God that we got the verdict and that it gives us some type of closure. I do have a message to Kimberly Kesler, as from one mother to another mother. If you could find it within your heart to tell us where the remains of my daughter, where are the remains of my daughter? Give us some closure. I'm asking you from one mother to another. All I have is this visual in my head of how my daughter was murdered. No body. So instead we have a bench that was dedicated by Jolene's friends, and I decorate that bench. But I'm tired of going to a bench. My daughter's not there.
Kesler had one last opportunity to say what happened to Jolene's body. But instead, she continued to rant and rave.
We were hoping that Kesler would talk, but I don't believe she ever will.
And because there was no body, prosecutors felt they could not prove the needed requirements for the death penalty: heinous, cruel, and atrocious acts.
I can only imagine how Jolene was killed, but I don't know. I don't have a body or a medical examiner, a forensic pathologist to tell me. Was she stabbed 100 times? Was she stabbed twice? So really, it is, in fact, the absence of Jolene's body that made for us it impossible to seek death in this case.
So, case number 2018 CF 815 on the charge of first-degree premeditated Jolene Cummings. This court will adjudicate Kimberly Kesler, defendant, also known as Jennifer Marie Sires, guilty, sentence her to life in prison without any possibility of use of parole.
As soon as she was sentenced, I wanted her out of our jail. The next day, she was on the first bus out of town, and we celebrated with cake and ice cream her homegoing, because her home for the rest of her life and until she takes her last breath is Florida State Prison. And we were glad to get rid of her.
The message is to anybody else that has a loved one that's missing. If she did this to my daughter, how many more victims were there? To know that all these cities that she lived in, all the states, all the cities, all the aliases that she used, and that's a lot of places to be on the run. Do I believe she's done this before? Absolutely. Absolutely.
What happened there?
This is a public plea for anyone out there that has information regarding the murder of Maka.
The victim is Maka Jenkins, a 33-year-old mother of three.
Maka Jenkins was murdered in cold blood. Nothing was stolen. So obviously it was a targeted killing.
He forced all us to go upstairs. He walks into the room and the gun goes off.
I'm a person that got shot in the head. All right, we have units on the way, all right?
I held her in my arms. She was alive.
I didn't have a whole lot of money coming up, but if I had money, I would offer the biggest reward I could possibly have.
If I got locked up, would you help to get me out?
Yes, I would. Without a shadow of a doubt, bro.
He just told me he was gonna body him. That's what he told me.
Body means
kill him.
This case is about lies and liars.
Why should this jury believe that you are going to tell them the truth today?
It's always a challenge for prosecutors because bad guys don't hang out with choir boys.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, could I have you all go out into the jury?
Oh yeah, I was gonna try to kill him. They took my sister away from me.
No.
Your wife is in a bar, you said she's under substance?
This is what he's going to tell you. How to get out of that situation.
And I grabbed the gun.
Trying to find the first place to put a body.
No, sir.
The only thing they could do was kill him.
You want to say anything? We, the jury, and to find the defendant.
Hi everyone. Hi Facebook. My name is Maka Jenkins.
Maka was loved by many.
Business strategist and coach with the Prime Enterprise Group. I help entrepreneurs.
She was a good role model, a good coach, and she was everything you could possibly want in a good woman.
Back in 2013, my family and we experienced a financial hardship, and I was homeless. We were homeless. And I still started my business in the midst of us trying to find a place to stay. And
she wasn't born into any money or any privilege, and she's someone who was rightly proud of her accomplishments.
So certainly, if I can go from homelessness to running a six-figure business, I can definitely help you do the same and achieve your business goals.
Maka Jenkins and her husband Yuri lived in this house in Lantana, Florida, with their two children.
She met her husband at a church picnic, matter of fact.
He was a barber. That was what he did for a living. He was sort of a stay-at-home dad, and she was the primary breadwinner in the family.
On the night of June 28, 2017, Maka Jenkins was at home. 2 hours before going to bed, she had boasted on Facebook that after being homeless a few years earlier, she was now making multi-six figures, and her life was good.
She was pregnant at the time, which was the second time that she had been pregnant. She had had a recent miscarriage, and they were trying to have another child.
Thank you. 911 emergency. Someone please get here now! Hello? Get here now, my sister is dying for her life, man. She's fighting for her life. My sister just got shot in the head. Somebody
who shot her, do you know?
No, they came in with an all-black mask on.
Alright, hold on 1 second, alright?
Oh my God, man. Y'all get here, please.
Makiva's brother Marquavius, known as Quay, had been at the house getting a late-night haircut from her husband Yuri.
It was like around 2 o'clock in the morning. Halfway through the haircut, somebody walk in with a gun. I'm like, man, what the world going on? He walks over, snatches my barber shirt off me, and throws me down on the ground. Like, get down. You think this a game? This ain't no game. Ain't nobody playing here. At that point, I just accepted my fate as, okay, if I die, I just die. He forced all us to go upstairs. As we down on the ground, he walks into the room and the gun goes off. The dude instantly runs out of the room and sprints out. Like he hauls butt. We run into the room, we see a hole in Makiva's head.
Yo, somebody call the police, man. My sister just got shot in the head. Somebody came in the house and tried to take.
Alright, we have units on the way, alright? And we're the medics as well.
At first, detectives wondered if Makiva's boast of making big money had made her a target.
Who has means, motive, and opportunity to kill Makiva, who everyone loved?
But as detectives scoured the Jenkins home and the upstairs bedroom where Makiva was shot, the crime scene began to tell a different story.
Well, Makiva Jenkins was murdered in cold blood. Nothing was stolen. So whoever broke in and committed a home invasion didn't take anything. There was no money stolen, so obviously it was a targeted killing.
Today's date is June 29, 2017, time 4:46 a.m., case 17-096159.
Well, the investigators start by interviewing the witnesses.
There was Makiva's husband, Yuri, who had been held at gunpoint. And there was a close friend of the husband, Dimitri Dale.
You grew up with Mr. Jenkins over here. In West Palm Beach through church. His dad was my pastor for 17 years.
And there was Makiva's brother, Quay.
But that night, everything was good. Everything was good. The whole vibe was good. The flow was good, everything. And then someone just pops out and comes through the garage with a loaded gun. Came in with a .38 special revolver. He had on a ski mask.
But Quay thought the shooter might have been someone who was at the house earlier in the day, visiting Yuri and Dimitri. I had heard him earlier that day, and his voice seemed so much similar to that other voice I heard that day. So I'm like, yo, this gotta be somebody we know. Because we just heard his voice, man. Y'all just heard his voice. So now detectives began to wonder if the unidentified shooter might have had some connection to either Makiva's husband, Yuri Jenkins, or his good friend, Dimitri Dale.
Yuri said that, no, this ain't nobody we know, but why is his voice sounding so much similar to how the dude sounded earlier that day? I didn't know what to think or who could have came in that house.
I held her in my arms. She was alive.
Yuri, he's very religious, Christian, cares a great deal about his kids.
And my baby girl, she don't really know what's going on. She's 1 year old. She'll never get a chance to see her mom when she gets older, when she gets her menstrual cycle. I don't know what to do. It's gonna be tough, especially being a black male, a single black male, widower, or whatever you call it. But man, it's gonna be hard, very hard, very hard.
But detectives would come to learn that Yuri and Makiva's marriage was far from perfect.
Well, he had had an affair. She had threatened divorce. He had had a child with another woman.
And it was all just a big mess. You know, it was really, the cheating was there. Exactly, like the cheating was there.
The day after his wife was murdered, Yuri Jenkins went to a local strip club, Flashdance, and boasted about it on Facebook.
I think Yuri had made some comment, basically, he's not going to some white cracker bar, you know, but is it any different than going to the local pub? Only because there's some naked woman in the background.
All those negative stories that are out there right now, what are your thoughts about that?
Honestly, everybody can go to hell.
When you have God-fearing people, you can't mess with God's people.
The funeral for Makiva Jenkins featured the choir from the church where she and her husband, Yuri, first met.
She loved him so much. She gave him chance after chance, you know. At the funeral, he wasn't that emotional. Probably like 1 or 2 tears, but it was never, it didn't seem genuine. It didn't sound like he was all broken in half, you know.
This is a public plea for anyone out there who has information regarding the murder of Makiva.
2 weeks after the murder, detectives were still struggling to solve the case.
That is because the suspect, after murdering Makiva, left the scene in a white Dodge Charger. We believe that either that person left on foot, had a car waiting for them. The family is here.
Hi, I'm Gloria Harold, Makiva's grandmother, along with my daughters, my 4 daughters, and her granddad, Hercules. I would like to say we didn't have a whole lot of money coming up, but if I had money, I would offer the biggest reward I could possibly have to help us come to some kind of closure in this case.
Where's her husband today and the people that were in that house that day?
We have no idea about her husband or where he is.
Do you find that odd that the husband is not here with the family, standing by, asking the public for help in her murder?
I do.
I just want to get a sworn statement from you, so please raise your right hand.
In one interrogation after another, Yuri Jenkins was repeatedly pressed by Detective Sean Oliver on what happened that night. Did he recognize the voice of the gunman as his brother-in-law Quay had?
Had you ever heard that voice before from maybe one of your clients? Does it ring a bell? Anyone you know sound like that person?
And questions about his relationship with Makiva after she learned about one of his affairs.
That she actually told you that she was thinking about divorcing you?
That was when I cheated. With Tiffany. She kind of said, oh, when she got, when they get mad, she must say, oh, I still got the divorce papers. I'm like, baby, no, I'm not doing anything. I got on my knees. Baby, no, I'm not doing anything. Nothing.
And then a key question about Makiva being pregnant.
You never told me she was pregnant.
I never told you that?
No. And if that was important to you, you would have told me.
I thought I told you that.
No, I would have known. I didn't find out till autopsy.
I didn't tell you that, for real?
I would have remembered that, because then I would have known it was 2 murders instead of 1.
I think I told you that.
And then why, when he was left alone by the gunman upstairs, outside the bedroom, he took no action.
Since you had your phone on you during this duration, you're upstairs on that 2nd floor landing, when Quay's downstairs with the gunman. Just have to ask you, why didn't you call 911 at that time?
Did I have my phone? I don't know.
Okay.
I didn't even remember I had my phone.
His brother-in-law, Quay, had wanted to jump the gunman.
We down on the ground. I'm trying to whisper to Yuri, like, man, let's do something. Well, man, how you just gonna let this man walk into your house like this and not do nothing? We gotta do something.
Why else would anyone want to go into your house and kill your wife? Because it's clear that that's their whole intention, was to just kill her.
There's no other reason.
So, was he a suspect? Sure, I had no doubt he was a suspect. I mean, that's just the way things work when one spouse is killed and the other is not, and you're both there at the same time.
Thank you for calling Northwestern Mutual. This is Carrie. How can I help you?
Then detectives learned about a call Yuri Jenkins made a few days after the murder, trying to collect on his wife's $500,000 life insurance policy.
I understand you have some questions.
About the beneficiary information.
And you were the spouse, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm actually seeing on the application here that you were not listed as beneficiary.
Oh, wow. Is it the kid?
No, and unfortunately I can't disclose that. That's considered confidential, and I can only speak to the beneficiary on file.
Okay, I gotta figure out who was... Oh, wow. Dang, she didn't change it in time.
Makeva didn't change the policy in time. I mean, that to me is like, well, why would you say that? Why would you say that?
Detectives thought Yuri's friend Dimitri Dale might know the answer.
Have a seat and the one right in. I just gotta have my partner do something. Leave it open. All right.
And the key breakthrough was when they interviewed Dimitri Dale.
And you came of your own free will, but because this is an ongoing criminal investigation, I'm going to do my standard read your Miranda warnings like I've done pretty much the last few times. Yeah.
Detectives had learned that the white Dodger getaway car actually belonged to Dimitri Dale.
It was hard for Dimitri Dale to explain why his car was there on the side of the road.
And I'm 40. You got into some shit.
And the Dale cell phone showed repeated calls to a man by the name of Jovan Joseph.
And ultimately, he seemed to have a consciousness of guilt. He wanted to talk.
Dale connected the dots between Joseph and Yuri.
Joseph was the hitman. Joseph was the person who murdered Makeva. And Joseph was tied to Yuri through Dimitri Dale. Dimitri Dale was the conduit.
And he said Joseph was demanding the $20,000 he was promised by Yuri for the murder.
If he did, how did Joseph express his displeasure with the fact that Yuri hasn't given him anything?
He just told me he was going to body him. That's what he told me.
Body means?
Kill him.
And when he cracked, that opened up the floodgates.
I mean, if there's any information I can give you, I have no problem with that, because at the end of the day, I know, and I told you this from day one.
Why did you cover for these guys so long? It took me 5 interviews to finally get you
to admit. I was going to say something in the very beginning, but I didn't, because at the end of the day, all odds were against me. At that home that day when you guys were there, it was everybody's family but mine.
Yeah, but if you would have been straight with us, don't you realize they would have probably been arrested within a day?
I know that, and a lot of people was mad at me.
Hello?
Yeah, Yuri.
And Dale had one more surprise for the detectives. He had secretly recorded his phone calls with Yuri.
But murdering my wife? Man, bro, listen, dog. I'm not going to jail for that, man.
Police today arrested a suspect in the murder of Makeva Jenkins on what would have been her 34th birthday. 19-year-old Jovan Joseph was indicted by a grand jury on a charge of first-degree murder.
Mr. Joseph, would you like to say anything to her family?
Jovan Joseph was in fact the person Makeva's brother had seen and heard at their house that day, talking to Yuri and Dimitri Dale.
Yeah, the shooter and Dimitri, they were good buddies. I was mad, I was just utterly devastated, disappointed.
All right, what's going on?
And now the phone calls of Yuri, secretly recorded by Dimitri Dale, would become pivotal to the investigation.
No, just walk out the room. Don't say my name, ring your phone, none of that.
All right.
Even the beginning of the recordings were pretty damning, because at the beginning, Dimitri said Yuri's name, and Yuri's like, no, don't use my name. Don't say my name.
And Yuri told Dimitri their secret was safe, that he would never turn on him or Jovan Joseph.
Tell that man, don't let them people scare you up, bro. I wouldn't do that, man. I would never do that, bro. Never.
Yeah. If there's 5 recordings between them, my client doesn't know he's being recorded.
Man, they don't have any evidence, bro. None.
But if I got locked up, would you help to get me out?
Yes, I would. Without a shadow of a doubt, bro.
All right.
Yes, I would.
And that's all I need to know, man.
Without a shadow of a doubt, bro.
Yuri had already covered for Joseph and Dale when he was questioned by Detective Oliver.
Dale came over earlier in the day with somebody, and I just want to show a picture. I want to confirm this is the guy. Is that who came over earlier in the day or not?
Oh yeah, he came and got a haircut.
All right, but Quay also mentioned you. Isn't that the guy that was here earlier with Dale?
Yeah, he did say that, but I was like, no, man, that's not him.
Don't get me wrong, you feel me? They asked me about him, and I said I ain't know the dude. All I did was cut his hair. They showed me a picture of him. I said, man, no, man, I just cut that man's hair.
Yuri, it's easy to blame everyone else. It's time for you to accept responsibility.
Now, 5 months after the murder, Detective Oliver is hoping to get a confession from Yuri Jenkins, telling him the evidence is strong against him.
But why do you think that you're sitting here right now?
Because of what you just said. Them was trying to say I gave him some money.
Yeah, he did. People rolled. I'm just going to be straight out with you.
People rolled? What do you mean people rolled?
Javon, Dimitri.
Rolled over and did what?
They gave up information.
What kind of information?
Well, the fact that you contracted Javon to do this. That's what he says. $1,500 up front with a payment of $20,000 after you got the insurance. This is what they're saying. I
don't care about nobody rolling no bull like that. Man, I don't give a damn about them.
You know you're feeling confident because you didn't pull the trigger. Man, I know you didn't pull the trigger.
Man, I would not kill my wife, man.
Well, of course you wouldn't, but you had somebody do it.
Come on, Detective.
You had life insurance to gain.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, you did.
No, I didn't, man. Where is that?
You thought you were getting the 500.
Man, no, I didn't.
And then Detective Oliver raised the TV news interview Yuri did the day after the murder.
You never said you missed her or loved her, and you do not show the expressions or the demeanor of a man who loved his wife and was visited and upset she was killed. Man, from the point she was killed on.
All right, man.
You did? Okay.
Just because I don't cry and hoot and holler in front of people, man, that's not me.
Honestly, everybody can go to hell.
I have no doubt in my mind, none whatsoever, Yuri, and I've been doing this job a long time, all right? And I don't expect you to admit it, because you got to protect yourself. And all you're thinking is about Yuri. And you always thought just about Yuri when you do this. It was a selfish act having Javon killed with Makita. You've been selfish your whole life.
That's a lie.
You depended on Makita, and she wanted to divorce you, and you knew the gravy train's going to end. I better collect.
God vindicate me.
And all of that ultimately leads to Yuri being charged and indicted.
Yuri, did you kill your wife?
No, I didn't.
You said you were innocent.
I am innocent.
Then what happened?
God will vindicate me.
What do you have to say about this, Yuri?
This is some bull. God will vindicate me.
You say you're innocent?
I'm innocent. Yes, I am.
Yeah, it was just so hard to accept it. I didn't want to accept it. But I really realized that, hey, you really did that. And he thought he could get away with it.
Selected and sworn as the jury to try the case of the state of Florida versus Yuri Jenkins. This is a criminal case.
You don't have direct evidence of Yuri. You don't have a confession. So how do you prove it? Sometimes you have to make a deal with the devil. And we did.
The prosecution had made a generous plea bargain deal with Jovan Joseph.
The hitman got 15 years in prison.
And an even more generous deal with the middleman, Dimitri Dale, who pleaded guilty to manslaughter.
Dimitri got 15 years of probation, and so he didn't serve any time.
I've been doing this 37 years, and I've never seen a deal like that with a co-defendant in a first-degree murder case, ever. They were willing to apparently do just about anything to get to my client.
Is the state ready, and do they wish to give an opening statement?
Yes, Your Honor.
Please proceed.
Thank you. To paraphrase a famous murder mystery novelist, the motives for murder usually come down to the 3 L's. Loathing, lusting, and/or lucre. Those 3 L's are exactly why that defendant, Yuri Jenkins, made the decision to hire someone to kill his wife, to get out of a marriage he was unhappy in, and to get a payday he thought was coming to him, but turned out not to be so. You don't have to like witnesses, and in fact, I highly doubt that you will. There is no excuse for what Dimitri Dale did in terms of his participation, and there is certainly no excuse for what Jovan Joseph did. But we're confident that when you get to the end of the trial, it'll be clear that they are telling the truth, because it's the only reasonable explanation as to why a 19-and-a-half-year-old man who had no connection with Makiva would commit such a cold-blooded murder.
Thank you. Defense would like to make an opening statement.
Yes.
Go ahead, Mr.
The government used this phrase in their opening statement of 3 L's. This is a trial, though, about credibility and why people simply are not to be believed when they try to cover their tracks as to why they committed a crime, in this case, Mr. Dale and Mr. Joseph. They have to testify in a way that convinces the prosecution that they are being truthful, despite the fact that they are both admitted liars, despite the fact that they have a history of not telling the truth, despite swearing to tell the truth. And we submit to you that if you really pay attention to that testimony and look at those witnesses and judge those witnesses' credibility, that at the end of this case, there's only going to be one fair and just verdict as to this matter, and that's a not guilty. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Would you please state your name and spell your last name for the jury?
Dimitri Dale, last name is D-A-L-E.
Adrian Ellis led the team, and when you have something this serious, when so much is at stake, you want to put your best people. And she's there as one of my best people.
So I want to talk about the elephant in the room, which is you swear to tell the truth and you don't. Is that right?
That's correct.
Why should this jury believe that you are going to tell them the truth today?
It took a while for me to accept responsibility, or some responsibility, well, most responsibility for my actions. And I think at the very least, the family of Makiva Jenkins deserves justice, and I no longer want to stand in the way of her receiving the justice that is deserved to her.
And Dale began with why he said Yuri wanted his wife killed.
And I said, well, why you want to do that, And I just kind of went into details about all she did. And he was just like, man, he was in the shower, he had sex with her, and his penis couldn't get fully erect. And so therefore, he knew he didn't love her no more. He was serious and asked, did I know anyone? I said, no, I just don't hang around people that, kill people. And then I opened the door and I asked Jovan to say, well, you know anybody that'll do something like that? And then that's how Yuri and Jovan pretty much engaged in the conversation. Jovan basically was saying, like, how much would you be willing to pay? And then that's when conversations about an amount came up. And that was pretty much the gist of the conversation.
Mr. Dale, did you, the defendant, and Jovan Joseph plan the death of Makiva Jenkins?
I won't use the word plan, but subsequently we got together, and as a result, she's dead.
Does that have nothing from you? Thank you, Mr. Dale. Mr. Weber, cross the bench.
My strategy was to work on the conflicts, the lies, the constant lies, the number of lies that both of them had told.
Defense lawyer Greg Lehrman kept a running tally of the lies that Dale admitted on the stand that he had told during the investigation.
You were adamant that you had nothing to do with this homicide, correct?
That's what I said.
you didn't give Detective Oliver any indication at all that you knew where the gun had come from or anything of that sort, correct?
That's correct.
And that you had no knowledge of anything regarding this case?
That was a lot.
It's always a challenge for prosecutors because bad guys don't hang out with choir boys. You're gonna have people hang out with liars and murderers.
Well, I'm his friend. He's my friend. There's no Devon Joseph without me. There's no killing McKeever without Yuri.
Well, there's no killing McKeever without you and Mr. Joseph.
No. Yuri Jenkins is the one that initiated all of it because no one would ever thought to kill McKeever if it didn't come from his mouth.
Guess that'll be for somebody else to decide, sir.
That's correct.
Jurors are told that if you disbelieve a witness on one thing, you can disbelieve their entire testimony.
Would you please state your name and spell your last name for the members of the jury? For the record.
My name is Javon Marquise Joseph.
The hitman, Jovan Joseph, recounted how Yuri guided him to McKeever's bedroom as members of her family watched it all.
Did you say anything to him while he was going upstairs?
No, ma'am.
Why not?
Because he was in on the plan.
And what do you mean in on it?
Like, this was his plan.
Plan to do what?
Kill McKeever. Yuri, he motions towards me, which room she's in. And that's when I laid him down. I go in the room. Once I go in the room, I see a figure in the bed. It's dark. I'm like a couple feet away. I aim towards her head. That's when I shoot her.
How many shots did you fire?
One.
Now, why did you shoot her in the head?
Because I was trying to finish the job.
And then, as Joseph gave more details,
he told me that Yuri was trying to throw us.
Judge, we have instructed all of the family members, McKeever's family members, that there can be no outburst, no show of emotion, no display of emotion, and we will do it again, Judge. We instruct them every day.
Cross-exam, Mr. Tufani?
when court resumed, the defense sought to use its cross-examination of the hitman to paint the real mastermind as Dimitri Dale, not Yuri Jenkins.
So the only things you know about what supposedly Mr. Jenkins wants is what Mr. Dale is telling you, correct?
Yes, not through his mouth too when I met him.
Other than the times you talked to him is what I'm saying.
Yes, sir.
The only other statements that you hear about what Mr. Jenkins is trying to get messages to you are coming through Mr. Dale.
Yes, sir.
You're not having them directly with Mr. Jenkins, correct?
Yes,
okay.
The other big issue is money. Dale denies ever getting any money.
Well, he handed a pile of cash to Mr. Dale.
Yes, sir.
They can't possibly both be telling the truth. They're either both lying or one of them is lying.
I'm drawing your attention to this text on July 2nd, 2017 at 12:49 p.m. Is that a text message that you're familiar with?
Yes, sir.
And in that text message you say, bro, bring me 20, I need it for gas, meet me somewhere, that's correct?
Yes, sir.
So that's about 3 days after you got $10,000 in cash, you need money for gas.
Yes, sir.
Here are these guys that said they got cash, and 2 days later, they're asking for $20 for gas, and then the response to asking for $20 for gas by Jovan Joseph is Dale saying, well, I'm broke. Well, how is that possible?
And Joseph contradicted Dale's testimony that Dale didn't know much about guns.
And whose idea was it to get a revolver?
Dale's idea.
And why did he say to get a revolver?
Leaves no shells.
Leaves no shells? You know, what does that mean to you, leaves no shells?
It's not enough evidence for the police to collect.
Like the cartridge, when you shoot the gun, it doesn't leave a shell on the floor?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And Mr. Dale's the one who explained that to you, correct?
Yes, sir.
Nothing further, Judge. Thank you.
Call your next witness.
As Joseph was led away to return to prison, the prosecution called its key eyewitness, McKeever's brother.
At this time, the state will call McQuavius Greer.
Okay.
My back was to the entrance to the courtroom, as was Yuri's. And the next thing we know, he's running towards my client, and he's basically tackled by a number of deputies and literally carried out of the courtroom.
Oh yeah, I was gonna try to kill him. I really didn't care what happened to me after that. They took my sister away from me. So I couldn't deal with that, and it was just hard for me, man, and I couldn't stomach it no more. I really didn't care no more what happened to me from that point on.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, could I have you all go out into the jury room, please? Please don't discuss anything about the case back there.
It gave the defense clear grounds to ask for a mistrial.
All right. What's okay? Mr. Lerman, have you made a decision what you'd like to do?
The judge would have been more than happy at that point to grant a mistrial, but at the same time, we would have been waiting another 6 or 7 months, if not longer, for a new trial date. And my client didn't want to wait, and we didn't want to wait. We wanted to get it done. We are not asking for a mistrial, we're asking for third mistrial.
Okay, let's bring Mr. Greer back in, please.
Quay was brought back into the courtroom with deputies closely watching his every move.
I don't want you to say anything to Mr. Jenkins again. If it happens again, you are likely to have the court find you in direct criminal contempt. Do you think that you can control your emotions and your actions?
So I want to start by apologizing to the judge, and I want to apologize for my actions and how I disrupted everything.
The prosecution needed Quay's testimony as the one eyewitness who was not part of Yuri's alleged murder plot.
When you were both lying down on the ground and you said to him, hey, is that the guy, or you made some comment to him about it possibly being the friend that came over earlier, you recall that?
Yes, I recall.
So at that point, did he ever say, hey, maybe you're right?
No, he never said that.
Did he ever say, this is some information that we probably need to let the detective or let the police know when they come?
No. I had to do it for Kiva, and then I really had to be Makiva up there on that stand. I had to be her voice.
Was there ever a point at all throughout this whole entire ordeal that you were left alone, not with the gunman?
No, there was never a time where I was left alone without the gunman.
Was the defendant left alone?
Yes.
Does Mr. Jenkins wish to testify? It is your decision that you do not wish to take the stand, is that correct? All right, thank you, Mr. Jenkins. All right.
No, we didn't call any witnesses because I felt that the case didn't need it.
Both the state and the defendant have now rested their case. The attorneys now will present their final arguments. Is the state ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor.
Please do so.
We're here today because of the defendant, Yuri Jenkins. And to quote Dimitri Dale, who took the stand a few days ago, he said, none of this would have happened but for Yuri Jenkins. Yuri Jenkins is the reason Makiva Jenkins is dead. The defendant obviously wanted to be with someone else. You heard about the loathing. He was no longer sexually attracted to his wife, period. He told Dimitri Dale that. Why would Dimitri Dale make that up? He made money cutting hair in his garage as an unlicensed barber. This was not a marriage that he could afford to leave. Yuri Jenkins told just as many lies as the people the defense will tell you not to believe. Not only does he lie, but he repeatedly tries to derail the investigation, even away from Dimitri Dale and Jovan Joseph. He didn't even say, hey, well, look into them. The defendant orchestrated and caused the death of his wife.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Lerman, are you ready to proceed?
Yes.
Please do so.
Good afternoon, welcome back. Yuri Jenkins now sits before you waiting for your judgment. He is not guilty of first-degree murder. This case is about lies and liars. Plain and simple. It is about lies and liars, and not Mr. Jenkins, but Mr. Dale and Mr. Joseph. It is about people who are unable and incapable of telling the truth. We know that Dimitri Dale planned this. We know that Dimitri Dale planned this without Yuri Jenkins' knowledge. It is the burden of the government to provide you with truthful, honest, sworn testimony. And when you have substantial material conflicts from that witness stand, that is a corruption of their burden. That is a failure on their part. And it is a conflict that, along with everything else in this case, calls for a not guilty verdict.
All rise, court is back in session.
Good morning, please be seated.
They were out, I think, around 2 hours and 50 minutes in total. Yuri, he seemed calm. I mean, he had high hopes. I was optimistic.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I have been advised that the jury has reached a verdict.
State of Florida versus Yuri Darrell Jenkins, defendant. Verdict. We, the jury, find as follows. As to count one, we find the defendant guilty of first-degree murder as charged in the indictment.
But Kiva's grandmother, Gloria Hurl, who had raised her like a daughter, wanted to make sure Yuri Jenkins knew the full measure of what he had done.
Go right ahead, ma'am.
I just want to say to everybody, this has been a long struggle for me. And what has happened to my daughter has affected my life and the life of my family. I have nothing bad to say about him. All I wanted was justice for my child. And now, nobody wins in this case. They came to the verdict I wanted them to have, but on neither side was a winner. I know how he has made his family feel, because they had no idea he could do something like this. I just want everybody to find peace after this. That's it.
Thank you, Ms. Hill. Ms. Ellis, is there anything else?
Yeah.
Judge, I believe this is it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Hill. All right. Mr. Jenkins, the court having found you guilty of first-degree murder, I'm required to sentence you to a term of life imprisonment without the possibility of parole.
We never sought the death penalty in this case. This was justice. It's not perfect, but justice did come because the person who did this, the person most culpable, was Makiva's husband, who she trusted and loved, and he betrayed her in many different ways.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Facebook.
She was a kind, loving person who made the mistake of marrying a really deceptive, awful individual who was motivated by greed and by dissatisfaction with his marriage. He deserved life in prison, and he got it.